Thank you, Staff Sergeant Miller and Father DeVoy. Ladies and gentlemen, please be seated. Today we honor the life, service, and sacrifice of Lieutenant Colonel Morris M. Fontenot, Jr., known as Moose. He was an extraordinary Air Force officer. First and foremost, we are honored to have in attendance Lieutenant Colonel Fontenot's family, his wife Kara, daughters Natalie and Nicole, his parents Morris and Mary Fontenot, and his in-laws Greg and Stephanie Parks. We would also like to recognize the official party: United States Senator Elizabeth Warren, United States Senator Edward Markey, United States Representative William Keating, Congressman O'Neill, the Undersecretary for Homeland Security and Emergency Management, Mr. Kurt Schwartz, the Adjutant General and Commander, Massachusetts National Guard, Major General Scott Rice, the Commander, Massachusetts Air National Guard, Brigadier General Robert Brooks, the Commander, 104th Fighter Wing, Colonel James Keefe, the Vice Commander, 104th Fighter Wing, Colonel Ken Lambridge, the Commander of the 104th Operations Group, Colonel Alex Haldopoulos, and the 104th Fighter Wing Command Chief, Chief Master Sergeant, Chief Marianne Waltz. In addition, we are pleased to have in attendance today a number of federal, state, and local government officials, commanders, chiefs, members of the 104th Fighter Wing, past and present, industry partners, community and civic leaders. We thank you all for attending today's service. Ladies and gentlemen, the Wing Commander, Colonel James Keefe.
Distinguished guests, members of the Barnes family, and especially members of the Fontenot family, thank you for joining me as we celebrate the life of Lieutenant Colonel Morris Moose Fontenot. I say the word celebrate because you cannot think of Moose without thinking about all the amazing ways that he touched our lives and positively impacted our nation. This has been the most difficult week in my Air Force career. Losing a friend and a brother in arms to such a tragedy affects me to the core. I am privileged to be able to address you today and to try to share the level of influence that Moose had in our unit, the Air National Guard, the United States Air Force, and his country. First, let me say the 104th was lucky to be able to bring Moose on board in March. He, Kara, and the girls made instant connections, and I personally admired his style of leadership and his relationship-based service. A little-known fact that shows Moose's true character is that arriving here at Barnes, he and Kara quickly started to invite over members of the fighter squadron to their home, one at a time, starting with the junior members to spend quality time with each of them, learning about their new extended family. And yes, that is what they immediately considered us, their family. It was very important for Moose to learn about the people he was going to serve with, because he always wanted to be the best leader, peer, and follower he could be. He loved the blessing he had to serve his country, and in his own words, taken from his application for our Inspector General's job, and I quote, "My goal is to stay in the military as long as I can and keep contributing in any way that I can." I will say that in the short time he was here, he lived up to that and proved his commitment to this wing time and time again. If you examine his career, you will see this value of service and commitment was ingrained early on, well before he attended the Air Force Academy. At his first assignment at Laughlin Air Force Base for pilot training, he was awarded the Outstanding Officer Award. And then later again at F-15 training, Tyndall Air Force Base, Florida, where he was awarded the Class Top Gun Award. He was selected for and graduated from the highly prestigious and demanding United States Air Force Fighter Weapons Instructor course. He continued to leave a trail of accolades that showed his true mettle throughout his career. At Mountain Home, Eglin, Elmendorf, and Kadena Air Force Bases, his coworkers and leader alike will tell you that his demonstration of loyalty, devotion to duty, and true patriotism were unlike any other. This inherent leadership ability was demonstrated when the squadron he commanded in 2012 was named the best fighter squadron in the Air Force, winning the coveted Raytheon Trophy. Additionally, when he was an Air Force Legislative Liaison and Congressional Fellow for Chairman Neil Abercrombie in Washington, D.C., he made countless contributions to the greater good of the Air Force in this nation. I have personally received countless letters and emails of condolences from generals and senior executive service members who worked with Moose during these assignments, and they shared personal stories highlighting the impact he made to his country. These officers recounted his 5 overseas deployments in support of Operations Northern Watch, Southern Watch, Iraqi Freedom, and Operation New Dawn. His fingerprints are everywhere throughout the Air Force, and it's evident by the amazing outpouring of support here today to his friends and families at the 104th. There is no doubt in my mind that his service at Barnes was just the beginning of what later would be seen as a remarkable career. There are few officers that I have met that have made such a lasting impression on me that I would count on them being a senior leader in the Air National Guard. Moose was one of those leaders. When he started to stand up our new inspection team, I knew without a doubt that he was destined for a star. I believe he had the makings to serve as a director of the Air National Guard or even greater. And if his actions were a good indication of what he could do, his future was limitless. With the support of his loving family and the ability to lead and influence positive change, he was a remarkable officer with unbounded potential. So how do we honor Moose going forward? We continue on what he thought was most important, to provide world-class air superiority for the defense of this nation and the ideas of freedom. For such a responsibility cannot be left to those who are not committed to excellence. It is left to those like Moose and you, my fellow members of the 104th Fighter Wing. I asked Moose about a month ago how he liked being here at the 104th Fighter Wing after about 6 months. He told me it was the F-15s that brought him here, but it was the people and the culture of this wing that made him and his family feel like this was home. The suddenness of this loss has shaken this community to its core, but it has also brought us closer together. That is something that Moose would have been very proud of. He was a committed husband, dad, son, and brother at arms, and I am truly blessed to be one of those who could call him a friend. Thank you.
Thank you, Colonel Keefe. We will now present the award of Meritorious Service for Lieutenant Colonel Morris Fontenot, Jr. The medal will go to his daughter, Natalie, and the citation will go to his daughter, Nicole. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Attention to orders. Lieutenant Colonel Morris M. Fontenot, Jr. distinguished himself by outstanding service to the United States as Wing Inspector General, 104th Fighter Wing, from 8 March 2014 to 27 August 2014. During this period, Colonel Fontenot's unparalleled vision and leadership resulted in the successful implementation of the Air Force inspection system at the 104th Fighter Wing, well ahead of the scheduled date set by the Secretary of the Air Force. In the absence of defined higher headquarter guidance, he led the way and expertly formulated a commander's inspection program that was benchmarked by the National Guard Bureau Inspector General as an example for all other wings. Within the first few weeks of his assignment, he organized and trained key subject matter experts from every section of the wing into a highly effective wing inspection team. Knowing the tight implementation timeline, he developed a detailed inspection program and led the wing inspection team to conduct 8 separate inspections within 6 months. A key orchestrator of the wing's deployment to exercise Koh Tafan, Butterworth Air Base, Malaysia, Colonel Fontenot's expertise in the Pacific area of operations was not only crucial to the training of over 120 airmen, but also positively impact international relations with the host nation. Colonel Fontenot's expert leadership left the wing with a climate of culture, self-assessment based on mutual respect and strict adherence to the highest standards. His legacy laid the foundation for a culture of continuous improvement for years to come. The singularly distinctive accomplishments of Colonel Fontenot and his dedicated service to his country reflect great credit upon himself, the Air National Guard, and the United States Air Force. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the commander of the 131st Fighter Squadron, Lieutenant Colonel Jeff Blake.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being here. Airmen, you look very sharp. I want to remind you, you are at ease, so feel free to shake it out a little bit and enjoy today's celebration. Very somber event. What I'm here to do is talk about Moose's career, but before I do that, I think I need to explain to you guys a little bit about him. I swear it will take less than 45 minutes, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so one day I'm at the squadron and I'm hanging around the ops desk, because when you're not flying, you're hanging around the ops desk wishing you were flying. And Moose was the supervisor of flying, so he's in charge of all the safety and security of the airplanes and working the schedule with maintenance and launching and recovering the airplanes. I saw him up there, so I'm just kind of arcing around the desk talking to him, and he looks up at me. He goes, "Hey, Boa, I need you to come over to my house." I'm like, "Okay, what for?" He goes, "I want to show you my furnace." And I can say right now that's the first time another grown man has ever said that to me. And I was like, "Okay." He goes, "Yeah, my house is great. Got a great neighborhood. I want to do all this stuff to it, and I just want you to see the furnace. I got some other things I want to do around the house. And hey, your daughter's got a horse, right?" And my daughter does compete. And I said, "Yeah, she does." And he's like, "I think you got, is it 2 girls and 1 boy, or 2 boys and 1 girl?" And I said, 2 boys and 1 girl. I'm like, how does this guy know all this stuff about me? This is great. Well, he's been asking other people as he's meeting people. Hey, what are other people doing? What are they into in the squadron? Just constantly wanting to know what's going on around him. That's the man. So we talked about Malaysia already, and we launched to go to Malaysia, and I flew an Eagle there, and Moose flew an Eagle back. So he was on a transport airplane going over, and I was on a transport plane coming back. And we're delayed a little bit for various reasons. We get up to Alaska, and he had already been there for a few days. People could be hiking. People could be touring glaciers, doing different things. It's a 7-hour flight up there. We land, I pull in the chocks, I look over, and I'm like, who is this guy here, standing here? It's like 9 o'clock at night. Of course, the sun's still up. And I look down, it's Moose. He walks right up to my airplane. He looks at me kind of with a look like, "Hey, I need some information." And I knew all the airplanes were Code 1. Code 1 means they're basically gas them and get ready to go to Japan. So I pointed at all the airplanes. I looked at him. I said, "Thumbs up." He pulled out his Crackberry and immediately started calling the command post to let people know that the planes are okay and that we're ready to press on time. That's the leader that he is. Now, once we were in Malaysia, I had the honor to fly a mission with some of the Soviet-built airplanes as their adversary, and Moose was in my formation. And during the mission, he was always in the right place, always doing the right thing, being lethal. It was so easy. I was able to be the lead and out front, and things were going smooth because he was taking care of everything else, and he's the tactician. So I'm going to read some pieces of paper here, but between each word on this piece of paper is 5, 10, or 20 people that he affected. This is going to look like what Moose did, but in reality, it's what he brought everybody around him to do. So I hope you enjoy. Morris Fontenot was selected to attend the United States Air Force Academy in the winter of 1992. After graduation from high school, he reported to Colorado Springs and started training in the summer of 1992. His freshman year, Cadet Fontenot was selected as the top freshman of the year. He also participated in the soaring program, jump programs, and was a member of the Cadet Honor Guard. Then on May 21st, 1996, Morris Fontenot Jr. became a second lieutenant in the United States Air Force. In November of 1996, Lieutenant Fontenot reported for UPT at Laughlin Air Force Base, where he flew the T-37 and the T-38. Lieutenant Fontenot received received the Wing Commander's Outstanding Officer Award while in flight school, and then on 12 December 1997, Second Lieutenant Fontenot received his wings and was assigned the AFSC of an 11 F-3F F-15C pilot. After a short stop at Randolph Air Force Base, Texas, where he attended Introduction to Fighter Fundamentals. Lieutenant Fontenot reported at Tyndall Air Force Base, where he studied as a F-15 basic course student and was the B course top gun. In September 1998, First Lieutenant Fontenot retorted to Mountain Home Air Force Base, Utah for assignment in the F-15C as a pilot in the 390th Fighter Squadron, the Wild Boars. While at Mountain Home, Lieutenant Fontenot was given the call sign of Moose. So now I don't have to be formal anymore, I can start calling him Moose. While Moose served at Mountain Home, he deployed to the 363rd Expeditionary Wing, Prince Sultan Air Base, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, where Moose flew 20 combat missions over Iraq in support of Operation Southern Watch. These combat air patrols help ensure the safety of United States Navy, United States Marine Corps, and British Royal Air Force fighters. For his combat missions and distinguished service, Moose was awarded the Air Medal in 1999. Moose was still a lieutenant. Changes were in order, and change for the better came on July 31st, 1999, when Kara and Lieutenant Fontenot welcomed into this world their first child, Natalie Marie Fontenot. Moose pinned on its captain bars in May of 2000. Then came the Fontenot's family's second joyous day, December 7th of 2000. Natalie, Kara, Moose welcomed Nicole Desiree Fontenot into their family. Now, as a four-ship, Moose was ready to take on the world. In early 2001, upon receiving orders, Moose packed up and moved to the sunny beaches of the Florida Panhandle. Eglin Air Force Base in the mighty 58th was to be his squadron. Moose and Kara were stationed there for the next 4 years. Moose held the jobs of instructor pilot, flight commander, chief of weapons, and in early spring of 2003, Moose was chosen to be the overall project officer for the guerrillas. His charge was to get to the guerrillas over the Persian Gulf and ready for Iraqi freedom. His mighty guerrillas executed 485 combat sorties, flying 3,865 combat hours during Iraqi freedom, where his leadership, hard work, and ethic were instrumental, resulting in a 100% combat readiness percentage. While serving at Eglin and the CENTCOM AOR, Moose was decorated with 2 Air Force Commendation Medals for his actions at the 385th Expeditionary Air Wing, King Faisal Air Base, Saudi Arabia. In addition, in one of his highest honors that year, the fellow pilots of the mighty guerrillas voted Moose as their top instructor and top pilot. There was no rest for Moose because he quickly was selected to attend the United States Air Force Fighter Weapons School at Nellis Air Force Base, Nevada. After a rigorous workup, Moose attended Weapons Instructor Course 04 Bravo in July of 2004. After working night and day, literally, debriefs lasting 20 hours, the hard work paid off. Moose's expert flying abilities and hard work earned him the right to call himself a weapons officer. In December of 2004, Moose graduated from weapons school. At this time, he also became a senior pilot. So now Moose had conquered the panhandle of Florida, and now he felt he had to conquer the most opposite place in the United States that he could find, Alaska. And on 31 December 2004, Moose, Natalie, Nicole, and Kara reported to the 19 Fighter Squadron Gamecocks at Emmendorf, Alaska. No sandy beaches up there. As a Gamecock patch, he began to mold his squadron into an even more lethal fighting machine. And in 2005, his teaching skills, tact, and pilot skill allowed the 19th Fighter Squadron to win the last William Tell air-to-air competition in the Air Force. In addition, Moose led the largest air-to-air joint training exercise where 32 friendly airplanes tackled 104 adversaries with an 83-to-1 kill ratio. But knowing Moose, he got to the bottom of the one loss. I could tell you right now, it probably wasn't an Eagle driver's fault. It probably was an F-16 guy. No task was too large for Moose. No stone was unturned in the accomplishment of his mission, a real fighter pilot's fighter pilot. Moose was awarded the Meritorious Service Medal for the performance of outstanding duty. Then Major Fontenot began an impressive run inside the Beltway of Washington, D.C. Moose turned runways and flight lines into delegations and hearings. Moose touched many high-level government officials and high-ranking general officers. From July 2007 to December 2008, Moose worked as a DoD Congressional Fellow. Then in January 2009, Moose became the Chief of Fighter Programs. Major Fontenot was working on keeping the United States Air Force fighters and their pilots the best in the world. He handled congressional understanding of the F-22 Raptor modernization program and Joint Strike Fighter procurement. His hard work and discipline earned him the Meritorious Service Medal. In the summer of 2010, Moose and his family moved across the Pacific Ocean to Okinawa, Japan, back to flying the mighty F-15. They were then stationed at Kadena Air Base, part of the 18th Wing, and his first job would be Wing Chief of Standards and Evaluation. Moose maintained his 18th job until his selection to be Director of Operations of the BATS, the 44th Fighter Squadron. Moose was promoted to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel on July 1st, 2011. While being the BAT DO, Moose again deployed to the CENTCOM AOR with the 44th Fighter Squadron, and Moose became part of a theater security package to help keep the Arabian Gulf stabilized. During this period, in support of the United States Central Command, he directed 9,700 precisely performed air tasking orders. Moose was a critical piece in directing 211 coalition missions with French and Emirati air forces. While in CENTCOM, Moose supervised, taught, flew the next generation of fighter pilots and taught them the skills necessary to become the United States Air Force's most lethal fighting force the world has ever seen. Moose was then selected for command while deploying in CENTCOM, and in March of 2012, he returned to Kadena to take command of the 67th Fighter Squadron, the Cox. His time in Kadena was not idle. His time quickly turned into preparation to return to CENTCOM with another TSP. In October of 2012, he returned to CENTCOM, now commanding the 67th. During the Cox 6-month deployment, Moose's squadron flew 2,400 hours and over 1,500 sorties. Not sitting idle while we were there, the 67th also deployed to Saudi Arabia to help train relations and assist the training of the Royal Saudi Air Force. After a highly successful deployment, Moose led a squadron back to Kadena in April 2013. During that 17-month period, Moose spent 11 months in the Persian Gulf region supporting Operation Enduring Freedom. For his leadership and dedication, Lieutenant Colonel Moose Fontenot received 2 Meritorious Service Medals from the Combined Force Air Component Commander. Also, the 67th Fighter Squadron won the Raytheon Trophy for the best fighter squadron in the Air Force. Back in Kadena, the 67th participated in a short-notice Operation Noble Eagle mission where a squadron deployed back to Alaska. Back at Elmendorf, his squadron was called to intercept multiple Russian long-range bombers, and in January 2014, Moose ended his time as commander of the 67th Fighter Squadron, 18th Wing, Kadena, Japan. Moose, Kara, Natalie, and Nicole packed their household goods and moved to Longmeadow to join the 104th Fighter Wing. Moose flew 2,363 hours while in the Air Force, with more than half that time teaching as an instructor. He flew 240 hours of combat. Moose received the Combat Readiness Medal, Armed Forces Expeditionary Medal, Global War on Terrorism Expeditionary Medal, and Service Medal. Moose's career is full of accomplishments and dedication to his family and fellow fighter pilots. Leadership, like Lieutenant Colonel Fontenot, is not taught. His leadership is in the fiber of a man. He will be missed. Thank you, and God bless.